I can't believe it. I was very worried going into this final episode of The Boys Season 5, and oh boy, am I happy to say that they actually stuck the landing. Thank God. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought I was absolutely amazing. Was it perfect? By all means, absolutely not, but I believe this was a satisfying conclusion to the show. It was a satisfying finale, and I believe the finale did everything it needed to do in a condensed environment, focusing on primarily just the boys and the soup slash homelander conflict, which is what the show was about anyway. So I am kind of glad that they stuck to it and stuck to its roots. But yeah, I believe this episode was great in terms of how they worked around it and like the conflicts involved in this episode. And also, I really did like everyone's conclusion in this series. I thought everyone did have an absolutely perfect ending. Obviously, I still do have some question marks in my head, but this is all for this discussion right now. But yeah, like I do still have some question marks regarding certain things, like obviously Soldier Boy, like the fact that that ending was actually how Soldier Boy's arc ended in episode 7 was very weird to me. So this does lead me to believe, are we going to see more of present day Soldier Boy stuff in Vault Rising? Because there's absolutely no way something like this was Soldier Boy's ending. But that goes besides the point. I do wish we had a little bit more intensity, a little bit more higher stakes, like Homelander possibly doing threatening things. Like, you know, in promotional material, we had things like Scourged Earths and stuff like that. And I wish we leaned into that more. Yes, Homelander's speech was very scary regardless. I wish we saw him do some stuff more threatening. Like, you know, possibly like kill an entire crowd or something like that. Just to increase the stakes a little bit. Because I didn't really feel that the stakes and intensity was there in the finale. So I do wish they did a little bit of that. And I will also say that the fight scenes I didn't really enjoy in terms of how it was edited, because it took me out of it when you just kept getting sudden cuts in between. Like when you're immersed into it and it just cuts back and forth into the different conflicts, it just completely took me off. But other than that, I thought the fight scenes itself were very well done. But obviously we had the whole aspect of Kimiko and her new abilities, which the boys find out that yes, it works, their plan worked. And the whole final battle against Homelander was absolutely amazing. I loved how everyone got their chance to shine. You know, Butcher destroys Homelander. He absolutely destroyed Homelander. He uses his abilities. Ryan joins the fight. Kimiko joins the fight. I thought it was very well done. And by the end, obviously, you have Homelander, after losing his abilities, literally pleading for his life and saying crazy things to Butcher. I'm like, yes, this is the deranged Homelander. And like, you see how desperate he becomes when he uses his abilities, when he loses his abilities. And that range that Anthony Starr was able to portray in the scene was absolutely amazing, man. He is so good. Give this man an Emmy. Genuinely, he was absolutely awesome. Sadly, we had the Peak dying in this episode, obviously with the Starlight conflict. You had I was gonna say the Peak, the Deep versus Starlight, and you know, Starlight throws him into the pool of sharks, and the octopus or the squid like wraps him up and then, you know, kills the Peak. So that was a deep ending. It was kind of foreshadowing from last episode, but yeah, it did work. I did really like it. One thing I didn't expect them to do was to follow the comics in a sense where Huey kills Butcher. I believe so in the comics. I don't read the comics, so I don't know. I believe so. Huey kills Butcher because Butcher wants to kill all of the soups, and he actually wants to follow through with it. I like the conflict they added with Butcher in the series, however, where he says, yes, I'm gonna do it. Like, Butcher doubles down, he turns heel, but he chooses not to do it at the very end. And you kind of understand both sides over here, where, like, you know, you get mad at Huey because you're like, Huey, he wasn't gonna do it. But then also at the same time, Huey had no choice, because even though Butcher didn't do it, he couldn't risk that fact because Butcher was about to do it before he pulled the trigger. So, you know, you kind of understand both sides. I thought Butcher's death was very well handled over here. It was quite sad as well. And I love how he got that, like, you know, brotherly confession moment between him and Huey in that final scene of Butcher's. I thought it was very well done. Now, one complaint that I see is about the Gen V characters and how they're supposedly wasted. And yes, they have no relevance in this episode whatsoever other than one scene, and I would have expected them to have a great role. But, they, like I said before, they just stuck to primarily the boys, which I'm happy about. But at the same time, why involve these characters when you didn't really plan on using them at all for this grand finale? Like, it would have benefited much more if the episode was probably longer, you had higher stakes, and you got to see the Gen V people actually deal with some sort of the conflict. So I don't know what's going on over here. Maybe they thought that they could kind of pay this off in Gen V Season 3, because obviously this was done before Gen V Season 3 was cancelled. So I think they were hoping that they were able to do stuff for Gen V Season 3, but now that it's cancelled, it's pretty much just left in the open. You're like, okay, so pretty much they went over all of this off screen. But yeah, that was pretty much my only other complaint about the episode. Other than that, I thought it was absolutely amazing. Every character got their satisfying conclusion. got his great conclusion, and obviously Huey and Starlight are still around. But yeah, overall, I genuinely think that the boys definitely stuck the landing for this. But like I said, it does have its flaws at the same time as well.